Good day, Left 4 Dead. Who could have known back in those primordial days of 2008 and 9 that Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 would be the greatest co-op games of all time? And that even today in the galactic space future of 2023, that people young and old would still be playing those bloody games. Developers are still trying to rip them off, to, shall we say, varying results. Who would have known that back in 1979, that in the galactic space future of 2023, that people would still care about the Alien franchise and still love the setting and characters? Left 4 Dead and Alien should have been a match made in heaven. Instead, it's more like purgatory or an endless gray field of nothingness. The fact is, Alien's Fireteam Elite is dull. It was developed and published by Cold Iron Studios and released in 2021, and is a third-person shooter that is inspired by Left 4 Dead. You play as a colonial marine that must fight the foul forces of the xenomorphs. You traverse various levels and fight common xenomorphs and all the special mini-boss enemies from Left 4 Dead. Pretty much all the special xenomorphs are the same as the special infected from Left 4 Dead. You got the Charger, Hunter, Spitter, Tank, you know the drill. The game does feature a few things that are different from Left 4 Dead. You've got that third-person camera going on, you got deployables, and you can select your loadout and class before each mission, and each loadout and class will have its own strengths and weaknesses. Pulse Rifle and Gunner class seems to work the best for me. Each class has its own class power that I forgot existed half the time. With Gunner, you have the ability to shoot faster for a short period of time, I guess. The fatal flaw is that this game is tedious. Left 4 Dead always had the player on edge, waiting for the next attack, and you were always trying to traverse one part of the map to another to get to a safe room, fighting infected all the way. The zombies go down easy enough, and the special infected, while a challenge, are never bullet sponges. All this works together to create an exciting gameplay experience that never slows down and does not make the player get tired of playing. Fireteam Elite is all about that tedium. Fighting the xenomorphs is just boring. They don't move that fast, nor do they do that much damage, and never come in really dangerous numbers, so most of the time you're just shooting xenos ad nauseum. If this had been like, say, AVP Classic 2000, the xenomorphs would have been flying around the level and able to kill you in a couple of hits. That would have been bloody exciting. Instead, you just progress through the levels, shooting xenomorphs and not much else. If this was the worst of it, then I might have still given this game a Steam sale pass, and said that it's good enough for a few solid hours with friends. If only we were so lucky. Early on in Fireteam Elite, you face rogue synthetics, and the game turns from a tedious third-person shooter into a frustrating one. Chest-high walls of the most boring variety. The enemies are bullet sponges, you have limited ammo, and the enemies can now drain your health extremely quickly. Difficulty is not a bad thing, but BS difficulty is another thing entirely, and the synths are on the BS end of the scale. And the game loves throwing a large number of them at any one time, and while this is not a bad thing, we have a absolutely scheisse saving system where if you die, you go all the way back to the start of the level, which means you are subjected to the same tedious firefights over and over again. Most players, when they reach the synth part of the game, will most likely turn the game off and never play it again. And even if you get past this part, the enemies don't get much better, and the game stays really tedious. And that is why I have to recommend skipping this game, even if it is $13 on sale. Yeah, you can get good, son, but you aren't going to want to, because all you can say is that you got good at a cheapo game that no one would have cared about if it had not carried the Aliens license. I sadly cannot even say that there are the bones of a good game here, because even if you would fix the tedium, it's still just a Left 4 Dead clone, and if you want to fight xenomorphs, just play Left 4 Dead with the various Alien mods. It gives you the ability to shoot xenos, and you'll have way more bloody fun doing it. I gotta call this game like it is. It's just a simple cash-in on the Aliens license with a minimum of effort, and one that will likely be forgotten, while AVP 2 will still have fans logging in on the fan servers far into the future. Graphically, the game looks pretty good, and the levels are sufficiently large and detailed, and the 3D models are sufficiently nice looking, and you can create your own custom colonial marine. If only we could do that in a good game. The Xenos kind of look like crap, with the common Xenos looking pretty samey. The specials have some decent details, and the guns look alright, and you can unlock cosmetics! I don't care in the slightest. The ugliest bit of the graphics are these red X's that show up on enemies when they get hit. It looked cheap in the trailers, and it looks just as bad in the game. Still, it's a 2021 game, and it would have been nice if it played as good as it looked. Sound design is uninspired. The xenomorphs don't sound particularly scary, the weapons don't sound particularly powerful, and the VA work isn't particularly good. Music. Oh my god, it is so bad it has to be heard to be believed. I won't play it here so that I can spare your ears, but man, it does not sound like Aliens at all, and instead oddly sounds cheery and happy, like something out of Close Encounters of the Third bloody kind. Yeah, that movie had aliens in it, but not the aliens we wanted. This game is in the modern Aliens continuity, meaning it's garbage. Some modern Aliens works can be good, like the Aliens Phalanx novel, but sadly, like with most modern interpretations of classic franchises, the writers opt for the most generic slop imaginable that lacks both depth and significance. Instead of making a good story with the aliens, it's instead just ma aliens and ma Wayland Yutani, meaning we got a bunch of stupidity, and obvious stupidity at that. Or, put another way, the story is as garbage as the game. Funny enough, the game is a sequel to an Aliens novel called Aliens Infiltrator, and yes, I read it, prior to this game because I had hype. And sadly, the novel was as bad as the game. The characters were really bloody dumb. And no, in the 90s, the characters were actually competent. In Infiltrator, the company is too cheap to build proper enclosures for the midnight black beasts from beyond the stars, and once you know it, they escape and kill everyone but one guy named Honecker. One thing that modern Aliens does is it keeps Prometheus canon, and thus ma black goo, and thus in Infiltrator, Wayland Yutani experimented on xenomorphs by giving them the black goo. So, get this, Honecker had a psycho ex-girlfriend that wanted to kill him, but he broke up with her before she could do it. Said girlfriend later killed someone and went to prison, and thus ended up as an alien test subject at Honecker's science facility. She gets bursted, and the burster is filled with black goo, and thus the Psycho X comes back to life and shows up as a boring boss in the first level of the game. Oh, I miss the 2000s. Hell, even the 2010s were better than this. I wanted to like the game. I really did. I watched that trailer with trepidation, and yeah, I knew it looked like a cheapo piece of garbage, but I hoped against all hopes that the developers would give us something good. The last good game with aliens and Colonial Marines in it was 2010's AVP3. Alien Isolation doesn't count, as that is a horror game. So after 11 years, I wanted a good action game, and we did not get that at all. Aliens games were always rare, as major corpos never took Aliens as seriously as the fans, and after this Scheisse game, I fear we are likely only to see good Aliens content in gaming mods or other fan works. An Aliens co-op experience could have been good had the developers created something that was more than just a mere cash grab. Instead, they created something that in theory should be fun, but in practice was less enjoyable than that bloody Colonial Marines abomination. In the end, I am GeneralLotz, and I'm going to wish you better AVP Classic 2000 and awesome AVP Arcade, whatever makes you happy. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and please consider leaving a like or a comment, as the algorithm desires your soul. And I want to thank all those fans who have supported this channel, both past and present.